Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sporting Max. Today we're joined by a man who's played overseas soccer. He's played for Melbourne City in the A-League. He's trained with the Brisbane Roar. He's been a part of their side for a year or two. Sorry. I just had a mind blank. Sorry, I'll start again. I don't know what was going on there.
That's all right. Start again.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sporting Max. Today we're joined by a man who's played overseas in Germany. He's played for Melbourne City. He's trained for a year or two with the Brisbane Roar side, Ross Archibald. Welcome to the podcast, Ross. It's amazing to have you on, for you to come today and have a chat with us online. How you going at the moment?
Thanks, Max. Cheers, mate. No, it's good, mate. As I said to you just off air, I've just got out of a meeting, so definitely not coming from training or anything anymore these days. But today's been really, really good, and looking forward to having a chat today with you.
So Ross, I'd like to start off with sort of what your childhood was like growing up for you in the Redlands.
Yeah, so I grew up in Queensland. My parents immigrated over here about 30 years ago from Scotland. So they're both from Scotland, came here looking for a bit of a new start and a bit of a better life. So they ended up moving to Queensland and the Redlands, which is kind of in between Gold Coast and Brisbane. I went to school there, and then was lucky enough to move to Brisbane Boys College in Year 8 when I gained a sporting scholarship there to play soccer. So that I used to travel around an hour and a half every day to get to Brisbane Boys College, which was a great experience for me, going to such a prestigious school, and opened a lot of doors for me as well. And probably shaped me into the man I am today. So, that's kind of a brief summary of my childhood.
So how did you earn, a scholarship at that Brisbane Boys College?
Yeah, look, it's something that came up just through my sport. So when I was younger, I was playing in the representative teams and stuff you do as a young kid, trying to, do well in your sport. I was keen to kind of maybe step outside my comfort zone a little bit. I didn't really think about it too much, honestly, until I started, playing for Queensland and coming through the representative sides, and then maybe going to a bit of a more prestigious school that can open some doors in sport and also help with the education side as well. So both sides are important, and both sides, education and sport, my parents wanted me to do well in. So that was the reason for obviously trying to get a scholarship there. And luckily enough, I did. And it was a really great time in my life.
So what was your time there like? What sort of rank were you in terms of how good did you compare to other players at the school?
Yeah, look, obviously they when you go to these schools and you get scholarships, they expect you to perform and do well for the school. And I'm going in there as an up and coming player. So and in return, I guess you get your free tuition paid for, and after, which is nice, and it was good for my parents too. So look, we had a really good team back at school, but and as I said, it helped me kind of become better as a player, and also develop my education and allow me to go on to do things outside of sport as well, which has been a major part of my life too. So at the school we had a really good team, but as I said, I'm going there as one of the players that are going to help the school improve and hopefully do well.
So then how did you earn that opportunity to go and play at the Queensland Academy of Sport sort of come about?
Yeah, so back then there was all the different institutes throughout Australia. So you had your Queensland Academy of Sport, your Vic Institute, your New South Wales. So each state had their own institute. And I guess it's a bit of a process when you're playing through, and the process has kind of changed now in football on how people get selected, and the A-League clubs now have their junior academies, which have all come in now. But back in that day, you went through the institutes to go and then hopefully become a professional through that via the institute. So you get picked up playing for your kind of your local team or your local club, and then you progress through the ranks to play for, in my case, it was the Redlands, and then you go and play for the broader Metro team, and then obviously from that, then you can the scouts and the people involved in the institute look to select you for that program. So I think there's only 5 or 6 boys per age group. From the whole of Queensland that gets selected to the institute every year. So I was fortunate enough to get one of those spots, mate. And then obviously that opened a few doors for me playing in national competitions. Then you get looked at by obviously the A-League clubs, which was the Brisbane Roar at the time, which is the next step in the journey. But that's how it came about, getting into the institutes.
What was that like to sort of train with the Brisbane Roar and get into, I guess, a part of their side and training team through the Queensland Academy of Sport.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the next step in the phase. You know, when I was 15, I was lucky enough to get the call up from the Roar to go and be a part of their youth team side.
Yeah.
So and I was very fortunate at the time. The Roar first team side was coached by Ange Postecoglou, who's now the head coach of Glasgow Celtic, and obviously the ex-Socceroos coach, probably one of the most successful coaches in Australia. So, you know, being a junior coming through with him, with Ange at the top, as the head coach at the Roar when they were doing so well, was a great experience for me. And I was lucky enough to be at the Roar for 3 seasons, and I captained their youth team side at the time and got exposure to training with that first team side and being part of that, I guess, that winning period for the club, which was great and great experience for such, you know, I was only 16, 17. So as a young boy, you're thinking, wow, this is unbelievable, you know? So yeah, it was a great time to be a part of that.
So can you take me through and guide me through that experience of training and sort of playing maybe a couple of practice matches with the Brisbane Roar?
Yeah, so with the Roar, I wasn't lucky enough to obviously make my debut for the first team there, but I was training with them basically every day. I was rocking up at school late, which I was kind of happy about in some respects, you know, getting to miss the first few hours of school every day because training with the A-League side in the morning, which was nice. And you know, you learn so much from those type of players in that team at the time. A few of them are retired now, but the likes of, you know, Thomas Broish and Matt Smith, and everyone will be familiar with Bessart Barisha, who's one of the leading goal scorers in the A-League. He was there at the time. So the quality they had at the Roar then was immense. And being a young boy, being able to play with those guys and learn off those guys every day was, you know, it's like every young boy's dream. So especially being a local boy as well, it was great to be involved with the club. And I've still got a lot of mates that play for the Roar now, and are doing well there. So it's good to see them also doing really well.
So what was it like to play with someone at the Roar like Bessart Barisha? I mean, I remember going to school some days after you played for the Victory or the Roar, and there'd be kids at school yelling out Barisha chants and everything. Yeah,
mate. No, as I said, he's a colourful character, Bess, and that's why he's done so well in his career, because he's very confident in his own ability. And you know, he come over here. I think he was playing in Germany prior, and he was relatively unknown. Same as Thomas Broish, and those two guys, especially being those foreigners that come across and part of Ange's team at the Brisbane Roar, were instrumental in the success. So seeing the desire and hunger that he brought to training every day, he's a winner. There's a lot of winners in that team. I think that time in my life kind of gave me an insight into what a winning culture is. That Roar team went 36 games unbeaten, which is a lot of games, not to, you know, a long streak of winning games. And it's, I don't think we'll see that again, to be honest. But it gives you an insight. And obviously Ange being, you know, the head coach at the time shows you what type of man he is and the winning culture that he brings to his team. And he's doing that at Celtic now, who are one of the biggest clubs in the world. So great time to be there, and obviously fond memories, and a lot of learnings as well. As a young boy, you take a lot of learnings, what it takes to get to the top, and that was a good for me too. You mentioned Ange Postecoglou. What was he like as a coach? Yeah, look, you know, day to day with Ange, he, you know, really respect Ange highly. You know, especially as young, you know, he loves to give young boys a chance. He doesn't, you know, if you're good enough, you're young enough. So like it doesn't matter if you're 16 or you're 30, he'll play you if you're good enough. And he's all about giving youth a go and obviously believing in youth and playing to a certain system. So yeah, obviously Ange had no favourites. He was there purely in the best interest of the club, and I think you can see that with what he's done at the Socceroos, what he's done now at Celtic and overseas in Japan as well. He takes his teams and he makes them play a certain way, and he really believes in his philosophy. So, as I said, it was great to see Ange turn that club around basically, and 36 games unbeaten is a testament to him and obviously the players that were there at the time. So how did you earn your opportunity and chance to come down to Melbourne and play with the Melbourne Heart? Yeah, so at the Roar, when Ange left, there was a bit of a changing of the guard there with the new coach coming in and things like that. And, you know, I did get a tap on the shoulder from Melbourne Heart at the time saying, would you be interested to come down? So I'd played them obviously in the youth league. They were part of the youth league as well. So we obviously played each other a few times a year and I'd done quite well. So the Melbourne Heart tapped me on the shoulder, and I'd previously lived in Melbourne before. when I was a bit younger, moved down. So I was like, why not? Why not give it a go? So at the time they were Melbourne Heart, and I came down here and was a part of the youth team side whilst training with the first team on a full-time basis. And it was a great experience, obviously moving out of home nice and early, having to think for yourself, and you're a young boy, you know, just finished school. And yeah, mum booted me out of home, which was nice. So, coming down, and then it was a bit of a different experience, a lot colder mornings down here, as you'll know, Max, and different experience. You got to make your way with a new bunch of teammates, you know, new coaching staff, and try and impress there. But you know, really happy I did make the move down.
Now, your debut with the Melbourne Heart, I think you subbed on for Harry Kuehl in the derby against the Victory. I think it was a 4-0 win for you guys. What was that game like for you to sort of soak in and take in the atmosphere for you?
Yeah, look, it was I think I remember training the day before, and I wasn't even expecting to play, to be honest. And then the coach put me kind of in the set piece, but before a football game, you work on set pieces. And I was in the set pieces, and I was part of the squad doing the set pieces. And I thought, this is a bit strange. I'm not usually in the set pieces. As you said, we won 4-0 that day. The likes of Harry were playing that day. It was a great day for the club. But I guess I was lucky enough to make my debut in probably one of the biggest games of the year in the Melbourne Derby at Amy Park, and it was a full house there. So look, that's something that, you know, every kid dreams of, whether you play one game or 300 games. You just want to be on the stage and in front of the big crowds and play a part, you know, in a derby like that. So I think, as I said to you off air, I wasn't lucky enough to go on and have an unbelievable career or anything like that. But it is something that I'll, you know, cherish until, you know, the day I die. It was an unbelievable experience.
Now, you had your start debut for the Melbourne City in Sydney after that sort of just became the Melbourne City, gone from the Heart to the City, obviously, in round one. And there was guys like David Villa and Aaron Moy playing. What was this like to sort of take the pitch with them and, you know, be on the same oval as them or ground?
Yeah, no, that's it, mate. So yeah, that was the following year, and Hart changed from City, and obviously the City Group are a massive organisation in world sport. You know, probably one of the biggest organisations in world sport, and you see what they've, you know, done with Manchester City, New York City, etc. So when the club kind of changed to the City Group, you know, there's more expectation and more pressure, and players like David Villa came across for a 4-game stint. You know, he'd won the Champions League the year before with Atletico. The guy was probably one of the best strikers to ever play in the world. You have Damien Duff, who played with Chelsea. Great person, unbelievable footballer. Just so much experience, and one of the classiest people I've come across in the game. And then players like Aaron Moy, who are more local, who have done great things for the Socceroos and have gone on. So the team was really strong. They went and got some big names, and I was lucky enough to make my debut that starting that round one game in Sydney in front of a pretty decent, healthy crowd. It was a 1-1 draw. We put on a good performance, but as I said, another great experience. David Villa come off the bench and scored that game. I think every person in that ground wanted to see David Villa that day and come on and score. And did. So being on the ground for that, and you know, watching him play in a Champions League final the year before that. To have someone like him on Australian shores at the time, I think we're all very lucky to see him in the flesh, because he's a one-in-a-generation type of player, you know. He graced the ground with Lionel Messi for Barcelona and all the top players at Barcelona. So to have him come to Australia was an honour.
So then how did you sort of end up in Germany at Fortuna Dusseldorf? Yeah,
so with the City, at Melbourne City, you know, I probably played one bad game or 2 bad games. Then when you're a young boy, you kind of go dips in and out of form a little bit. And, you know, and that's just football, mate. Sometimes it happens. It's quite a ruthless industry. All sports are, but football is definitely. And you've got to be prepared to take your chance. And if you don't, then the next person will come along. So I kind of realized, maybe I'll go give it a crack over in Fortuna, and through a couple of, phone calls, ended up, why not come over and give it a crack? So was there for a 2.5-week trial in Fortuna, and was lucky enough to play quite well in a couple of practice games that we had, and ended up signing a 2-year contract over there, predominantly with the second team, and playing over in the 4th tier in Germany, which has the likes of, Mönchengladbach second side and Dortmund second side. So it's still a very high level, and a lot of great players over there. But as I said, once I got over there in a training camp, they're quite they train quite intense over there.
Yeah.
Quite different to the A League, where you're only maybe training once a day or whatever. You're doing 2 or 3 sessions, and unfortunately, in a training camp when I got over there, I snapped my knee in Korea,
Oh.
tendon bone, which was not nice. But managed to play a few games whilst I was over there in the 4th tier, which was a great experience. But yeah, just obviously through injuries and stuff like that, mate, it makes it tough to get on the park.
Can you take me through that injury of snapping your patella bone?
Yeah, we went to a training camp in South Korea, Max, and as I said, mate, like it's when you're over there, full-time footballer, you're training hard, and probably as a young boy still, I was only 20, 21 at the time, my body hadn't fully developed, and I probably wasn't used to the level of training that I was going through there. We're doing triple sessions in Korea, running, and it was tough on the body, and I think one thing is your body has to have time to adapt. And I can remember my knee feeling really sore, and I kept playing through it because I was like, I don't want to let the coaches down. I don't want to be that guy that just comes in and sits on the sideline. I got a sore knee, coach. I don't want that reputation. And then anyway, in a game, I just felt it go, and I could hardly walk after it. So unfortunate things happen in football and sport in general, and I think it's the setbacks that make you stronger. But yeah, I definitely learned a lot over there in Germany. And for a footballing nation, they're one of the best in the world. So a lot of the boys I went and played with over there are now playing at top tier clubs in Europe. Still keep in contact with them now. And yeah, no, really good experience.
So while studying law, and I guess playing overseas, why did you decide to study law, and what was that like? I'm trying to get your law degree while playing professional football.
Yeah, it's something that not everyone wants to do when they're a professional footballer or sports person, but I always had the kind of goal in my head that I wanted to keep my off-field studies or do something off-field as well, because I understand, and I'm a realist, that not everyone goes on to have 10-year careers or and hit the heights of the top players. So whilst I was playing at both Melbourne City and in Germany, I was doing my law degree, just plugging away at it. And yeah, I kept that going. So lucky enough for me, I did, because as I said, I had something to fall back on after that. And I've always had quite a passion for law and business and being involved in helping people as well. So that's one of the reasons why I kept that going through my sporting career.
Did you find it hard playing football while, studying a law degree?
Yeah, look, it is difficult, but, when you're a professional, for instance, in soccer, we train in the morning and we might have a session in the afternoon here or there, or we might have a gym session or a team lunch, but you also do have a lot of downtime. So, and as I said, it's not for everyone. Some boys choose, or some females choose not to study while they're playing, but I was just of the opinion that I wanted to do that. So there were sometimes I didn't want to do it after a game or after practice, and you're really tired and you're like, oh, I can't be bothered doing this. But you know what, like, I'm really happy I did, and I made that choice because now I'm studying the law, and I enjoy it, and as I said, I like helping people and like being involved in their businesses and seeing how I can play a part and help them take their businesses or whatever they want to do to the next level.
Did you ever have a time where maybe your law exams clashed with games or end of season trips to Byron Bay?
Yeah, probably both, mate, to be honest. A few end of season trips where I was might push the law exam back a little bit and say I had training instead of Byron Bay, but no one needs to know about that. Nah, it's of course there was, but quite lucky that the whole kind of push for athletes to also study and be a part of something else outside of what they were doing as an athlete was quite large at universities, and my uni was really good for that. I went to the Queensland University of Technology, and they looked after me a lot and understood that I did have commitments as an athlete, and they tried to work around those with me as best as possible. So I was very fortunate in that circumstance, and obviously I'm very thankful for that.
So playing soccer with Port Melbourne Sharks right now, how are you going?
Yeah, look, mate, back in the NPL land and Vic, and it's been tough for everyone in the last few years with COVID at the semi-pro level, and it's stop start seasons, and boys moving from interstate and coming to play. Like we've got a few boys from interstate and they've had to go back because of COVID and that. So looking forward to, hopefully, touch wood, that next year we get a full season out, and I'm at Port Melbourne again next year. So looking forward to a good bunch of boys there. It's a strong competition down here in the NPL. There's a lot of boys that I believe are good enough to go and play in the A-League level if given the opportunity. A lot of good young boys coming through. So I'm excited to be a part of that and see how we go.
So who was the most famous player you think you've been on the pitch with?
Oh, look, I can't go past probably David Villa, to be honest.
Yeah.
As I said, I was lucky enough to play with him in the same team, and the guys won it all and played for Spain at World Cups and won World Cups, Champions Leagues, arguably one of the best strikers to ever grace the game. So, as I said, very fortunate to play with a player like that. And I was lucky enough to only play a handful of games, but my handful of games were with someone like that quality. And as I said, Damien Duff as well, who, absolute gentleman off the field, unbelievable footballer on the field. Those two guys really stand out for me. What's
the best bit about being a lawyer?
Yeah, as I said, it's stimulating. It's you never, each day is different. You always have different problems, and probably that problem solving part as well, helping people. And I work in the corporate commercial side of law, so transactional businesses, working with people's businesses, working with them to see how we can do things better, and making sure that they're protected when they go into business and have confidence going into their business ventures. So that's our role as the advisor, trusted advisor for our clients. So I really love the day-to-day problem solving, the knowledge, getting to know the client and what they want and how we can help them, is also building great relationships. I just think that throws up a lot of challenges. So a bit like sport, there's a lot of challenges that come, but it's how you can overcome those challenges.
What would be your best advice to anyone who wants to be a professional soccer player and be successful and play overseas like yourself?
Yeah, look, as I said, Max, I didn't have an unbelievable career or anything like that. I was lucky enough to play professionally for a few years, but you've got to really want it, and you've got to be able to, put the distractions aside, especially when you're coming through, and those distractions do start at probably 15, 16, 17, where you might want to go do something else. You might want to go out, you might not want to go do the gym session, or you might want to go and see your mates instead. And I think there's a balance to be struck, but you definitely, from my experience, the players that do make it, majority of them have got that work ethic and that desire to make it, and that real drive. So I think you've also got to be a bit lucky as well in sport. There's a lot of talent out there. You obviously have your high end talent, but then there's probably another block with, the majority of players sit, and luck does come into a little bit, but I also think you create your own luck, and that's through working hard and being dedicated at your craft. So I think that would be the key takeaway.
Thanks, Ross, for coming on the podcast today, putting aside half an hour or so of your time to come and have a chat. It's been an honour to have you on.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate it, mate. Chat soon.
Thanks, Ross. Stay tuned, everyone, for some more Sporting Max.